Mic is on? Okay. Hello, everyone. So yeah, first speaker of the conference. That's weird. I haven't done that, but I think it's also exciting, and I think you guys are all awake and had good breakfast, so that's good. And I'm super happy to be here, not only because I've never been to Oslo, but also because when you look at the lineup of speakers, it's mostly, well, pretty much half of the speakers are women, and I think that's amazing, so I think we should applaud to that. All right, so let's see, let me get started here. So I will be talking to you today about third-party scripts and third-party footprint. So basically, I want to we'll be showing you some examples of popular websites, how they include third-party scripts, and I'm not here to critique them and say that's the shitty implementation, but rather actually show you that they have issues, or they could have issues, and how to fix those issues, especially when third-party providers go down, such as Twitter, Facebook. A little bit about myself. So, as Annette already said, I live in Toronto, in Canada. Is anybody here from Canada in the audience? Oh wow, awesome, good. Germany? No, okay, cool. And as Annette also said, I really, really love burritos. And I'm currently a product manager for the API at ONA, which is a Forex trading platform. Before I focused on APIs, I worked at the CBC. It's kind of the, Annette, what did you say what the national radio, the television broadcaster is? What was that? Anaco? Yeah, that's kind of similar to that. So I was mainly focused on performance and mobile web. Yeah, and as the slide says, I love burritos. So what I normally do is when I speak at conferences, I ask the audience to tweet me their favorite burrito places. I don't know if you have any good burrito places. What I did read somewhere in my travel guide is that you guys like tacos on Fridays. So I'm also happy to take tacos suggestions as well. I'm very passionate about web performance. I started a meetup in Toronto, a web performance meetup, which thankfully is growing rapidly. Well, we have 350 members so far, but this is what I like to do also in my spare time. And before I get this party started, I have this little picture here of, I guess you can figure out who I am in this picture. The one with the great makeup. And then I was super, super happy that my sisters, they came, they flew in last night to be with me today here. So I have my party people here with me. Anyhow, so that's enough about myself. Who here has included a third-party script on their website before? That is really good. I think then the talk will be just right for you guys. So let's first start with what's the definition of a third party. So Ben Vinegar, great engineer, he wrote a book called Third Party Script, and I took his definition. I just want to read it out loud and quote it here. So in the strictest sense, anything served to the client that's provided by an organization that's not the website provider is considered to be third party. So when we think about it, what are those types of third-party scripts? We have advertising, we have tracking and analytics, we have fonts that we put on our website that they're not hosted on our website. Social media, the Twitter plugins and widgets, libraries and frameworks. And it's also important. So this is from our end putting that stuff in, but I also want to point out that it's quite challenging also for the script provider to give us all those scripts because they know. Whatever they give us today, they have to probably support forever, and that's probably very challenging. They also don't know where we put those scripts in. Is it at the bottom, at the top, what the doc type is? Are they having any issues with shared environment, the global namespace? So I think not only is it a challenge for us to put them in, or to make sure that they're properly included and not damaging our website, but also them providing us good stuff. So, while I was preparing this talk, and I have given that talk several times before, and I think I always try to get the latest stats, but it hasn't really changed that much. So, again, I was wondering what is the number one used third-party script these days? And what I did is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with HTTP Archive. Who here has heard of HTTP Archive? All right, a few people. For the people who haven't heard of it, it's basically, it's kind of a website or a project that tracks trends on the internet. So you can see how many pages of the top Alexa websites still use Flash, or they do all kinds of stuff. So you can get a lot of stats. And then there's this thing called BigQuery. I don't know who here has heard of BigQuery. Oh, okay, only a few. So BigQuery is, so HTTP Archive is based on a database, and BigQuery is a Google project in the cloud where you can actually run queries against HTTP Archive. And that's a really, really cool combo to answer questions like those. And now, before I'm going to show you the result, what do you guys think is the number one used third-party script in the world? jQuery, okay. Google, okay. I think I heard some of them. So this is the result. I don't know if you can see it that well, but Google is occupying most of that the distribution here. So the query on the right, that's the query that I ran against BigQuery. So I really encourage you to check out BigQuery. Yeah, so and when you look at it from a distribution kind of point of view, you see that really most of the scripts and most of the third-party scripts are coming from Google. Facebook is obviously still big as well, and then I put here Akamai, but I looked at the subdomain. This is mostly coming from Facebook. So if you consider that being Facebook, so we're at 34% for Facebook. But of course, especially when you're in an organization and you talk to people, and you marketing wants to convince you to put something in there, it's not always easy to run a query and show it to them, and that you probably can't convince them to tell them how bad sometimes third-party scripts can be. So that's why it's also very nice to have some tools, some visualization tools, to actually first show them and see them what they actually look like. So there are a bunch of tools that you can quickly run on your browser through a plugin. This, for example, is 3D Tilt Firefox. So this tool layers each node based on the nesting in the HTML tree. So you see this huge little island coming up there, which is basically all social media scripts, so Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. Same with other popular big websites, for example, Wired. Ghostery is a plugin, and that's what you see on the right side there. It shows you how many third-party scripts are used on your site. And I think this is crazy. It's like 41 scripts are being served from Wired.com. Herald Sun, an Australian newspaper or news site, they even have 81 scripts. And I don't know if all of those scripts are needed and what their value is. And then I also took, what's that, Afton Poston? Is that the website? Yeah, I took I think I looked at the top Alexa websites for Norway, and that came out just to give you an example. So this website has 34 scripts. So definitely foreign content overload. You see a lot of stuff happening from other third-party providers on your site. And when you look at the example of the Wired.com website, those are the pies based on one is request, the other one is bytes, and you can see, well, it's pretty small, but I can tell you those 40% numbers that you see, that's basically the content coming from the own Wired.com domain, and the rest is basically third party. So I would almost argue pretty much half of the stuff that is being served to the users there is actually not coming from the own domain. So that's a lot, considering that each HTTP request normally costs around 200 milliseconds, another DNS lookup, and all that stuff that is happening on the browser to serve that content to you. It is slowing the stuff down. But then, what is really the issue? We should step back and think, well, if we put ads on our websites, they help us make money. So that shouldn't be a problem. Tracking, if we put tracking on our website, it helps us segment our users, and we can better target to serve them the content that they want and that they came for. And this is kind of why I'm here today. I want to make you aware of the things that happen with third-party scripts and ask the right questions. So that means we'll be talking about performance, because third-party scripts inevitably challenge the performance of your own website content. And if you're not including them properly, they can actually bring down your website, which is called single point of failure. And then maybe not necessarily related to performance, but I think still very important is privacy, because anything that you put on your website that is not yours, that interferes obviously with your idea of privacy, and you want to make sure that whatever is served to that third-party script is actually okay, and you agree to that. So you don't want to damage your integrity and maybe have the third-party script provider being hacked and getting any things out of this. And then I want to present you, obviously, not only the issues, but I want to help you. So I'm also going to show you some solutions. I show you some saved snippets that you can easily put on your page to improve the performance of third-party scripts. And a little bit talking about caching in hosted libraries, if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing. And then some tools and initiatives that have been started in the community to help out developers to understand better what third-party scripts are doing and how to properly manage them. So let's start with performance. Anything you put on your site will increase the weight of your site. That's just, I mean, that's a fact, and it will slow down your website. It will not make your website faster. And especially if you, again, retrieve different scripts from different hosts, you have another DNS lookup, you're challenged with latency issues, and then depending on where the script is located in your critical rendering path, that can slow down this stuff as well. So this is a really nice rule of thumb that I picked up from one of the Google I/O talks from one of the Google One button engineers. He said the value you get out of the widget needs to be greater than the performance hit you're taking. And that's, I think, is a very good conclusion that you have to figure out if it is actually making you money with ads versus the retention of the customer, maybe people leaving your site because your site is too slow. A good example is the government UK. What they did is they put Facebook and Twitter sharing buttons on their website. But they noticed that only 0.2% of people actually used this. So why putting it in? I mean, it's slowing down your website. So they took it out, which is great. Another thing along those lines, and backs up Nielsen, it's a research group, backs up that rules as well. And what that basically, this quote means is, so if your website is slow, the chances or the time that somebody is looking at the promotional space of your website is just only 1% of their total viewing time. But if you have a very, very fast loading website, the time that people spend on promotional space on that page, it will be 20%. So bottom line is, if you load fast, the chances that people enjoy your ads that are in there. Speaking of ads, I'm always wondering how beautiful it would be as a user, as a visitor of a website if there were no ads. So what would be a website look without ads? Steve Souders, he's a big performance guru, god. He's a very smart guy. He's doing a lot of stuff about performance. And he tweeted once that Ymail, so Yahoo, turned off ads for 3 days, and the load time dropped by 73%. So that's a lot. That's a big hit. When I used to work at the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, we had an unfortunate event where we actually had to turn off ads. I'll get to that in a second. But basically what happened when we were taking ads out and turning off ads, we noticed that actually also our page load time dropped by 40%. And the reason why we found this out was because there was something not good going on the website. So another tip that I want to give you with is you should monitor your foreign content constantly, because you don't know, it's not yours. You better check on them. So this is what happened. So it was the mobile website. So the average load time was always around 6 seconds or something. So that was smooth sailing. You know, the website was going, that was a daily check, was going well. And then all of a sudden we noticed a spike. And so those are the arrows, okay? We noticed a spike, and all of a sudden we were at 10 seconds load time, almost like the 40%. And that was the time when we turned off the ads because, the marketing department put some bad code in there. And then we removed it, we turned it off, so you see the load time drop, which was great. And then it kind of normalized itself again, and we were back up, we fixed the things, and we were good to go. Worse than this is obviously single point of failure. So that's a more severe performance impact that can be hit, or your website can be hit with. It can bring down your website. So single point of failure is part of a system that, if it fails, will stop the entire system from working. But how can that happen? When does a single point of failure happen? When you do this. That's, may I introduce, that's the offender tag. What do you think is wrong with this code? Okay, I'll help you out a bit. Basically what happens is that if you include the script like that, and let's say thirdparty.com is down, everything that is below that tag will not be rendered, or will stop, will block the rendering. So again, imagine this is Twitter, you put it at the top of your page, Twitter is down, your website is down as well, it's just not loading. People say, well, whatever, third-party providers, they don't, oh, come on, it's Facebook, they have so many engineers, nothing is going to go wrong there. But yes, actually they do go down. October 2012, Facebook goes down. February 2013, Facebook goes down. March 2013, Twitter goes down. August 2013, Amazon Web Services go down and take down Instagram and Vine and Airbnb. June 2014, Facebook goes down. August 2014, Facebook goes down. Facebook and Instagram go down again in January this year. Sure, I've forgotten a few outages, but you can clearly see it does happen. The other one, less of a SPOF, but it's definitely mentioning, is that was the jQuery HTTPS certificate expired, and they kind of forgot to renew it. So there were some people had some issues because you had your jQuery version included. So. And then I think this is just, I think that was so funny, I just needed to put that in. That actually happens. So somebody calls 911 when Facebook got down. And what do you take from that? You don't want anybody to call your 911 if something is down, when your website is down, or when you're being down because of a third party. So I think that was quite nice. The other issue is the Great Firewall of China. So this is a censorship and surveillance project, and it started in 1998, and it kind of began operations in November 2003. And what basically some of the US websites are basically blocked, such as Twitter as well. So if you don't include your Twitter widget properly on your website, and somebody in China looks at your website, they might not be able to see your website or load your website. But I'm talking about all this stuff, and it's not working, and you guys probably think, why is she talking about this? I don't believe that. So I basically want to show you a little video what actually can happen. So imagine, you can simulate that. So imagine you're on TechCrunch, either in China or Twitter is down. So I'm going to start this video. So on the left side is the regular site. No SPOF, there's nothing wrong with Twitter, or everything is going smoothly. And on the right side, this is to assume that Twitter right now is down, and you would go to TechCrunch. Oops, all right. So, it's kind of fully loaded at 5 seconds. And this is what happens if Twitter is down. So I guess at this point, I probably would say, I'm not going to go to TechCrunch, I'm going to go to Mashable now, or any other website, just a competitor, because this is clearly not working for me. I want to read that stuff, and it's not working. So how did I do this? You all can do this and simulate that stuff with a really excellent tool, which is called Spofomatic, by Pat Meenan. He's an excellent Google performance engineer as well. So you load any website, and then it shows you what could potentially bring down that website. And then there's a button called Generate SPOF Video, and then it opens up Web Page Test, which is another excellent Pat Meenan project that he created. where you can test your website in terms of performance. It pre-populates what kind of scripts are loaded on that page and could potentially go down. And then after you do that, you run it, you get a film strip, which is the top one. It's a little bit small, where you can see how things load with or without SPOF, meaning the script is done. But let's crash this party. So let's figure out how we can solve this and get TechCrunch help to not have that issue. So when I was working at the CBC, we were changing commenting systems. I wasn't working on that, but I was still interested. That's when I started being interested in third-party scripts. So I thought, you know what, let's see how we've done that. But unfortunately, when I looked at the source code, I noticed this script tag at the top. And let me ask you again, that kind of seems pretty similar to the one that I showed you before, the offender tag. So imagine VR4, which was the scripting library or the commenting library that we included. Let's assume VR4 would go down. So CBC website on the left side, great, around 10 seconds or whatever, it loads fully. And then again, because the commenting system is down, why can't the user just see the website without the commenting system then? One idea would just be to put the script at the very bottom of the page. Or another thing would be this async script at the top, where the way that's done. I copied that actually from another engineer, Stoyan Stefanov. He's a great Facebook engineer. He's done a lot of stuff with the like button to improve that. So this is, and I'm going to go through that in a quick second, but this is how easy you can just avoid SPOF and be safe on your website. So let's talk about initializing those client-side scripts. The safest way and the one that works the best for all browsers so far is the one that I showed you, the dynamic script tag. It's inline, so that the browser downloads the script in the background, and once it's downloaded, it executes it as a regular JavaScript thread. So you kind of can take it away out of the critical rendering path. So let's go through this. The only thing is it blocks the CSS, so the rendering of the CSS. So you probably can put it before the CSS, but you want to also make sure that the head of your website is pretty clean. So as I said, let's go through this. The first piece here is an immediate function. So this just ensures that any temporary variables remain in the local space, and you don't want to bleed that bleeds into the host's page global namespace. Then the second one is you define declare variable that find the first script element on the page. Then number 3 is you check if the script hasn't already been included, and if so, don't do anything, but otherwise just include it. So you don't want to copy multiple times the script into the page. Then you create a script element and assign the ID to it so you can check for it later. Then you actually do the assignment of the script that you want to load. And then you insert it into the DOM, and then you're done. So let's go back to the CBC page. This is how it looked after 5 seconds without SPOF, and then the other one with SPOF about 25 seconds. And this is what I did by using that snippet at the top of the page and assuming VR4 is down. You see, everything loads, no problem. Nobody's complaining. I can show the website without the commenting system, but at least better than nothing. Those are some variations, what I showed you. The first one is the regular page with VR4 okay, and then the second one, VR4 down, where you put the script at the bottom. It's still always better than using or avoiding the offender tag, basically. So obviously browser vendors and browsers, providers, they obviously want to help us developers to also figure this out without hacking around. So there are new ways to do this, which is using attributes such as async and defer. So with async, the browser loads the script when it's available, so it won't block the DOM or the CSS DOM. So it's quite unordered. So if you need to make sure that it has a specific order, that might not be the right tag because it just loads whenever it has time, basically. And then the defer attribute basically just runs when the page finished rendering. So that's the thing. In terms of support, unfortunately, there's still not all the browser, well, the newest browsers, yes, support it, but especially if you're really highly have IE users, you can see the async is only supported after IE 10. So you want to make sure that you check your browser distribution, what people come to your website to. The W3C suggests actually to use both, so that's a pretty safe thing as well. Yeah, that gets you started. That's one thing, but there's also, as I said, like kind of other tools or things that help you identify or help you not avoid any SPOF or critical bad code. It's the ad hoc browser tools that I just showed you, like the SPOF-O-Matic. YSlow is an extension as well, an extension on top of, I think, Firebug. And then continuous integration and deployment processes. There are some Grunt and Gulp plugins that help you also identify SPOF. eBay has done a great job. What they did is in their continuous integration system, they put something in that as soon as somebody puts the offender tag in, the build fails. So that's a good idea as well to help you understand, no, you shouldn't be including stuff like that. What about caching? The thing is, if the cache is high on a third-party script and the third-party script goes down, since your browser still has it in cache, you might not even notice the outage. But the problem is that third-party providers, they have a very aggressive cache because they obviously want to keep changing code. They don't want your user to have a cache of 1 year and never get the updated code. So that's quite difficult to rely on that, and especially when you look at, again, those top 14 third-party scripts in the world that I showed you, they have very small cache policies or times. So you obviously they want to push changes as soon as possible. What about hosted libraries? That would be an option as well. I mean, when we look at the Google hosted libraries, you see over the last 4 years, Google has been aggressively pushing us or helping us to take our jQuery version or Dojo version or any other version from their CDN. I mean, it's Google CDN. It's a fast CDN, so if you don't have your own CDN for your website, that might be a solution. You see pretty much, I forgot to say the yes and no, so I don't know. I think 52% they're not using, and 48% of the websites are using Google libraries. But then you can go to Google and they help you, pick out your library that you want to include. But then when you look at this, it just tells you, okay, you get the load, copy and paste this in your HTML snippet. And then I see it's the offender tag again. So Google themselves, they present us with something like that. So I think I've already reached out to some people at Google also and told them that they should change that on the website, or at least kind of give a bit more explanation, because you would totally be doing a SPOF here as well. So don't do that. Another option you could do here, so yeah, you can include that script tag, and you go to Google to get your jQuery version. But you know what? Just to be safe, do like a silent fail. Use that script. Basically, what it does is if it can't find, or if Google is down for whatever reason, then you can just use your local version as a fallback with the document right there. But then at the same time, I want to point out that although jQuery is so popular, the problem with jQuery is it has a huge fragmentation, because one thing you could also think of is, well, if I include 1.7 to jQuery version, I can maybe leverage the caching of somebody else previously visiting a page with that jQuery version as well, so I don't have to pick that up from the browser and serve it again. But the problem is there's no real sticking out jQuery version out there that you can use. So what's the verdict? Hosted libraries are not. It's the potential. The pros of hosted libraries is you have potential benefit of the cross-site caching, which I just mentioned, but it might not always happen. You don't have any hosting, storage, or bandwidth or maintenance cost. You can benefit from Google CDN, which has a 1-year caching time for those libraries, which is great. The other one, like the cons, are just you have another extra DNS lookup, and if you have your own CDN yourself anyways, why using that I wouldn't do. The other one is privacy. You want to make sure that as a third-party publisher, you want to choose a provider that values privacy. So you don't want them to steal the data that is on your site. You don't want to manipulate. You don't want them to manipulate stuff on your page. And you also want to make sure that whatever they track or whatever they do, it has been authorized by you and you're aware of that. Which brings me to the like button. The thing with the Facebook like button is it doesn't really tell you what kind of things it tracks. And there's a lot of stuff that the like button tracks that you have not agreed to. So it does maybe checks where you were before and where you're going next, what your IP address is, who knows, social insurance number, credit card numbers, and stuff like that. So you didn't agree to that. Thankfully, there are some good initiatives out there and some resources. So Privacy Heroes, or the Heise is a German computer magazine, and what they did is they only have the user, only load the the Facebook like button if the user agrees to it. So you kind of say yes, and then it actually starts only loading and processing stuff to the Facebook server. That's pretty neat. All right, in terms of the performance heroes, I have Philip and Stoyan. Those two guys are doing a lot of good stuff on those asynchronous script tags and playing around and seeing what helps best. So Stoyan works at Facebook at the like button, and he's always on top of everything. Google also has a page where it tells you about asynchronous scripts and tells you all the third-party providers that are giving and providing us asynchronous options to not have SPOF. Another one is navigation timing and resource timing API is something that you can normally use on your own side to check your resources, how fast they're loading. Thankfully, there's a new header that can be set, which is a timing allow origin header. And when that is enabled by the third-party provider, you can actually check their load time as well, because before that wasn't possible with the cross-domain issues. And you can see more and more third-party script providers are putting that header in, so you can play around with that and figure out how well that third-party script behaves on your site. Another initiative is the JS Manners, which came out of a conference that we had, the Edge conference in New York, and most of those people are highly involved into third-party scripts or scripting. So we started a thing called JS Manners, which is kind of like a scoring system to score scripts and tell you, okay, VR4 is great, the way they provide you stuff. But the thing with JS Manners is it definitely needs some love. So maybe you guys can contribute on GitHub to it and paste your results of whatever third-party scripts you have included before. So just to wrap it up, what we've learned today, so you can remember next time before you copy and paste, what to do as a publisher and a developer. Refuse third-party content that doesn't provide async options or is not minified. I've had that as well, that third-party providers just provide you like full code. Of course, you can minify it yourself, but then you would have to host it on your website. So check that out. Put the risk in the SLA, so see how often the third party goes down, and maybe put that in your agreement. Review JS Manners. Maybe by now somebody has done some stuff on JS Manners to help you out, figure out if the script that you want to include is good. Educate. I think it's very important to help people understand that this is an issue and that it can be fixed very easily. Test the script with the navigation and the resource timing API. Ask for server-side options. Sometimes you can actually do stuff from the server and not through the client, avoiding some of the SPOF stuff. Evaluate tag managers. I think Etsy is using a tag manager to combine scripts that they perform better. So you could do that as well. Investigate hosted libraries. See if you don't have a CDN yourself. Maybe it makes sense to use the Google APIs, but remember to put that silent fail in there as well. Monitor, because it's not your content, so you want to make sure that whatever comes there is doing the proper thing. Also evaluate the need. I think when you look at the Herald Sun, the 81 or 84 scripts, I don't know if all those scripts are really needed and helping your business to be better or marketing, or if anybody's actually using that data that is coming from there. Provide non-blocking code samples and snippets from a script provider perspective. So help the developers, show them stuff how to include the third-party script on their page. And also maybe do like a proof check after. I think that would be great that, VR4 or any of the third parties says, yeah, you did this right. This is great implementation. You can go. And that is it. The party is over. Thank you. Oh, yeah, and this is a shameless plug that I just felt that I needed to do. And because I'm so happy, I just finished writing a book. It's called Lean Websites. This basically there's a chapter about third-party scripts as well. But there's a lot of other things about how to make your websites fast. I think it's very important. And it should be out, I think, end of the month. So you can order it on Amazon. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Would you like to join me in the living room?
Yes.
So you've had quite a few burrito recommendations tweeted at you.
Okay.
So that should be good.
Very good. Burrito or tacos?
Burrito attack.
Good.
Yes, exactly.
Good.
So we had a question here for you. What are your recommended solutions for asynchronous ad loading?
It would be that script tag that I showed. That's one thing you can do. It depends on also the ad provider. I would hope that the ad provider already, if it's a well-known ad provider, that it would help you actually with those options as well. But taking that snippet that I showed, and by the way, I don't know if it, and I'm going to send that out on Twitter as well. I have a follow-up blog post where I list all the resources and all the links that I provided today. Yeah.
Excellent. So a few people have tweeted sort of extra resources. Have you used something called Ghostery?
Yes, which I also introduced at the beginning. So Ghostery is an excellent tool, and it's not only from a performance perspective, it shows you what's happening, but also from a privacy perspective. So it can help you identify what kind of data is actually being sent to the third-party script, which is excellent because there's, again, a lot of stuff that shouldn't be sent, or you probably didn't agree to be sent to that server.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you showed us a couple of well-known websites. How widespread is this problem?
Well, as you can see by looking at the examples that I did show you, it didn't take me long to go to Wired, like all the big websites, and ran that Spotomatic plugin and noticed that, wow, even the big sites, they seem to not have known about this issue and are still doing this. So it's well spread. I think and that's why I think I'm also here for. It's about educating and making sure that every developer is aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had someone watching the live stream who did a quick check of the big Norwegian newspapers.
Yeah.
And it turns out that pretty much they all sin against this.
Okay. Okay.
So if there's anyone here from the big Norwegian online newspapers, you should probably watch this talk one more time. Yeah. This isn't a question, but a friendly. There's iframes, IAB SafeFrame, or Garda can help with loading ads non-blocking.
Can you say that at the beginning?
Or maybe let you read.
Okay. I haven't heard of those ones, so I would be interesting whoever tweeted that to come to me after, if the person is in the audience. Or was that from the live stream? You don't know.
I don't know.
Whoever that was. Okay. Okay, so yeah, no, I would love to hear about that. I haven't heard of that.
Okay, great. I think so. The Twitter stream is fairly noisy, which is excellent. But I think that's all the questions.
Cool. Well,
so,
yeah. If you guys have any more questions, just ask me after for sure.
Excellent.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just head down wherever. So.